There's a whole lot of foolishness going on in this world, right? Nobody knows how to balance their budgets. There's a whole lot of conflicts going on. We still haven't even solved things like cancer and HIV. We're going to need some help. And it doesn't look like we figured it out in our generation. So we may want to set up the next generation to make sure that they're able to answer some of these questions, invent some of the things we need, and actually balance a budget. So we're going to talk about today what supplements you should be taking, or at least intentional about when it comes to your diet, to make sure that your child is neurologically at the head of the class. Thank you guys for joining us. Don't forget to click subscribe. So clearly, you guys, we're not doing a great job of making this world a better place. We're kind of destroying the world, actually, in so many levels, morally and physically. So we're going to need a generation that has it going on upstairs, a generation with high intellectual acumen, a generation that cares about humanity, and a generation that's emotionally intelligent. First of all, let's understand why it's important to be intentional. Still to this day, a large percentage of pregnancies are unplanned. And we all know that unplanned pregnancies have worse outcomes. So if it's one thing we can change, is simply being intentional about having children, actually planning to have children. What a concept. Let's think about that. It's obvious, and clearly the recommendation is that we shouldn't just end up pregnant or be surprised that we're pregnant, unless you've been trying and you're surprised because there are other issues. That's a whole different conversation. But we shouldn't be like, oops, wait a minute, am I pregnant? Oh my gosh, how did that happen? Girl, we know how it happened. And dude, you were there too. You shouldn't be shocked either. So let's talk about how we can improve the neurological development of our unborn children. And you guys know that one of the reasons why planned pregnancies are so important, because we participate in behaviors that may not be the best or safest to have the healthiest outcomes. So there's a lot of people who socially drink or more. Okay. There are a lot of people who smoke. Okay. A whole lot of stuff nowadays. And we know that these toxins, and they are toxins, so let's not get that mixed up, that most of these toxins are harmful to an unborn child. So it's important to plan a pregnancy so that you can make sure, one, that you minimize unnecessary exposure to toxins, not just in terms of drinking and smoking, but even in terms of job exposures, things that you use in your household to clean, which we shouldn't be using anyway. But we know a lot of y'all are out there mixing things that you shouldn't be mixing, and you see the smoke go up and you still don't really realize that there's a problem with when there's combustion and certain reaction to chemicals that you're mixing just to get a clean house. There's something not right about. That's a different topic. We're not going to touch on that today. Okay. But let this be a PSA. Stop mixing chemicals. Y'all know who you are. Nonetheless. So what exactly are the supplements that are best for our baby's brain? Let's talk about one of the ones that's most important. You guys have heard about neural tube defects. We're not going to go into it. If you don't know what it is, our midwife, Olivia, broke down the 411 of neural tube defects. Just make sure you go click and select our prior video, and you'll get all the information you need about neural tube defects. Today, we're just going to mention it briefly. So one of the other reasons why it's really important to plan your pregnancy is by the time a lot of women, especially those with irregular cycles, know that they're pregnant, they're heading out of the first trimester already. By the time you're exiting the first trimester, the neural tube is done, okay? It doesn't need the folic acid anymore. What it is what it is. So if you want to make sure that you have good spinal and brain formation, you want to make sure that your diet is rich in folic acid intentionally. And unfortunately, especially in America, a lot of our diets are not rich in folic acid. And this is why folic acid is recommended for all persons who are planning to get pregnant for months before you actually conceive, because you want to make sure you have that good storage of folic acid. Folic acid is a type of vitamin B. If you show up at the end of the first trimester and you're like, hey, neural tube, I got you. I got my folic acid. The neural tube is literally like, girl, you a day late and $1 short. Where have you been? because you needed to be on folic acid even before you got pregnant. Another form of deficiency that affects many countries around this entire world is iodine. So a lot of us, depending on where you are, and you may want to actually search this. I was going to say a certain brand. I had to stop myself. You may actually want to search this. What countries have iodine deficiencies? And if you are in that country, you want to know what foods are being fortified with iodine. So in some countries, like America, it's salt. In other countries, it may be other food products like bread or flour. So you want to find out what is the status of iodine in your country. Is there a deficiency? And if there is a deficiency, what food products should you be consuming so that you're getting enough iodine in your diet? Now, why does this even matter? Who cares about iodine? I mean, really, iodine. Okay, what's the big deal? Iodine is a micronutrient that is necessary for the formation of the thyroid hormone. And you may then be saying, thyroid hormone, what is that again? I heard about this so many times, but I don't really know where the thyroid is. Thyroid is in front of the neck, number one, so that's the location. And the function of the thyroid is to regulate the rate of your metabolism. So if the thyroid presses on the gas, you better believe, put your seatbelt on. But sometimes your thyroid may stomp on that brake. Okay. And you want to know what just happened there. It's your thyroid. So iodine deficiency is one of the most common causes of intellectual and developmental disabilities, or otherwise abilities. So why not, if it's easy just to consume, why not give your baby a chance at life of having a better functional life by making sure that you have sufficient micronutrients like iodine? Moving on to the omega. So you've probably heard about omegas. You've probably heard about omegas when it comes to heart health. Well, what does it have to do with a fetus or a baby or unborn child? We're all saying the same thing, whatever descriptive you use. Well, that's because omega-3 fatty acid is important for eye development. I may have needed a few more omegas. Mom. Brain development, and is suspected to have an important role in early child development. So you may be wondering, how do I increase my omegas? Well, you certainly can take supplement, but if you want to do it through your diet, make sure you're eating enough healthy, safe, meaning low mercury, seafood in your diet, cooked seafood in your diet, which can be shrimp or various fish, the salmon and catfish and sardines, especially the oilier the fish, the higher the content of omegas in general. So make sure you're getting at least 2 to 3 servings of seafood per week. And for those of you who are vegans or vegetarians, you may want to increase your diet in things like flaxseed and walnuts and hemp seed and even Brussels sprouts, you guys. And certain types of oils are rich in omega-3 fatty acid. And you know what? This is really for everyone. Everyone should be consuming a diet that's rich in omegas. Why not? You can't lose. As a matter of fact, you may heart win. Get that? That was kind of good. Maybe not. Okay, next. So here's one that may surprise you. So you've heard about vitamin D when it comes to bone health. It works with calcium. It's been linked with mood disorders, with energy, with your immune system. But guess what? Vitamin D actually has a role also in brain development. It's been found to be involved in certain neurological processes in the brain, such as like neurotransmitters and proliferation. So vitamin D, again, another reason why vitamin D is important. Vitamin D just got it going on. She's like everywhere. The more you learn about her, the more you're like, oh, she's kind of dope. So make sure your diet is rich in vitamin D. Again, you can consume vitamin D as a supplement. Certain foods are fortified with vitamin D, or you can stand out in the sun for a little bit, but not too long, because you know that cancer thing is still an issue. So let's talk about another nutrient that you probably haven't really heard much about, choline. So choline is another nutrient that has been found to be involved in both brain and spinal development. In fact, it is found to have a role in cognitive function. So not only do we want to form a healthy brain, but we also want that brain to do higher level of function, to have high level thinking, great emotional intelligence, and to be able to be analytical and at the same time, very creative. If you want to improve cognitive function, then choline is that nutrient. You want to make sure you have sufficient choline in your diet. So we know not everyone's the same, right? We're not a monolithic group of people, no matter where you are in this world, what country you're in. There is no way that we're monolithic. We're filled with just a diversity of gene pools that are interconnecting and proliferating together as we come together to form the next generation. So I say this a little bit cheeky. However, I am very much serious in what the message is, which is one of the ways in which you can optimize the neurological function of your unborn child is simply to have a diet that's rich in nutrients. Another one that I didn't really go into is vitamin B12. It's found that when it's in low levels, does impair neurological development. I don't want you to sit there and try to memorize all these micronutrients. Here's the kicker. If you have a plate of food, or if your meals are diverse in vegetables and fruits and all the different types of nutrients, macronutrients and micronutrients, then chances are you're going to have a diet that's rich in a lot of these nutrients that we're talking about today, with the exception of certain countries that have known deficiencies because of the type of diet in that country and the type of food supply in that country. So just making sure that you're aware what deficiencies are common in your country, but outside of that, just making sure you have a well-balanced diet, that if you pass the color test with your plate, do you know what I'm talking about? So if your plate has at least five different colors on it, chances are you have a great variation of micro and macronutrients on your plate, then you're kind of doing great. And if you continue to have that habit from meal to meal, then chances are you're going to get a lot of these great nutrients that are not just important for brain development and cognitive function, but also important for other aspects such as eye development and heart function and things like that, bone density. I'm sharing specific nutrients today just for general awareness. I don't want you to sit down and try to memorize all these different nutrients, because by the time we go from the brain to the toe, it covers just a very well balanced diet. And that's really the take home message. Make sure that your diet is balanced. This information is really intended just to give you some intentionality, right? So, you know, as you're consuming these foods, what nutrients you're getting out of those foods, and whether or not your diet is sufficiently balanced, because you may be eating certain food groups excessively and may have a diet that's deficient in others. So we're giving you this information so you can kind of get a sense of what you need to know to assess whether or not your diet is actually balanced. But the goal is not for you to sit down at every meal and try to assess what nutrients you're getting. Just as long as you have the golden rule of varying the colorations of your diet, make sure you have some green and some oranges and some reds and some beige, and then you probably are doing a very good job at balancing the nutrients that you're consuming. I also want to make mention for those who may have malabsorptive issues, whether it's an underlying condition or because of a prior surgery, like a bariatric procedure. For that particular group of individuals, we do want you to seek professional advice so you know how to consume your foods, because that's a little bit of a different scenario where you are restricted by volume or you're restricted by your body's ability to absorb your nutrients, and so may have to make some allowances and some changes or take certain supplements in order to get your sufficient amount of micro and macronutrients. So that's a special group of individuals. And there are others who are on different medications. You know who you are. Usually most of you know exactly what your limitation is. But outside of that, for the average person who's just planning their pregnancy, hint, hint, this is what you should know in order to be intentional about your diet. So come on, you guys. We desperately need somebody who knows how to bring about world peace. We need somebody who can stay out the galaxy and fix the problems on Earth. Come on, you guys. We're not doing a great job in this particular generation in a few things, right? But if we be intentional about the next generation, we may raise the next scientist. Are you the person assigned to birth the next scientist that's going to come up with a cure for HIV or even cancer? Are you the person that's assigned to birth the next person that's going to come up with a great negotiation plans to bring about world peace, that's going to be able to help these countries balance our budgets and stop owing trillions and zillions of dollars? But I digress. You get what I'm talking about. So hopefully this information has been helpful to you. We thank you for watching, and we see you guys when? the next episode.
Oh no, did somebody forget her sign out? Yes, she did. This is Dr. T, the hand behind the handle of Healthy Bump Club, right here on YouTube and Healthy Bump Club on Instagram. See you guys when the next episode.